Hello fellow old schoolers. So now I'm in South Africa and gonna try the meta down here. And for this occasion I've sleeved up an entirely different deck than what I usually play. I usually play different iterations of the mono black archetype. That's what my old school collection is for. But this one is different. It's a Candleflare deck, and I never tried it before. Never played the archetype really. So this is my first foray in that department, and I've dubbed it Mark 1 because I'll probably change it up as I go along. The deck is primarily a blue and red deck, and it revolves around both the Candelabra of Taurus and Mana Flare and the combination of that. Candleflare is a combo deck, but what's different about it compared to other combo decks that I know of, like Twiddlevault and Power Monolith, is that many of the cards in the Candleflare deck are actually quite usable in themselves, whereas drawing a Monolith or a Power Artifact or a Twiddle is not that great in the other kinds of decks until you get the combination going. I believe this deck has less dead draws before the combination kicks in. So the way the Candelabra works is that you spend X amount of mana into it and then tap it, and then you can untap X lands. So obviously this works with Mana Flare because you'll just rack up the mana with that. As you only spend half the mana from the lands you tap to untap them again, and then you can tap them one more time. So in essence, each Candelabra of Taurus is an extra Mana Flare. Hence the name Candleflare. But you can do all sorts of other nifty little things. You can use it with Power Search, and then you can tap your own lands to untap the opponent's lands in his upkeep, I believe it is. And then he'll take damage from Power Search, and the Candleflare pilot will not take damage. You can obviously use it with Mace of Ith, so you can use Mace of Ith a bunch of times. Another obvious choice is using them with factories, and you can just tap and untap and just pump those factories up before you attack. So that should be fun. And obviously they can do all these shenanigans with pumping themselves while blocking as well by using the Candelabra of Taurus. So that's the first line of defense, I suppose, against aggro decks. For the other cards, I've put in a copy artifact and a transmute artifact just to test them out and try to get the artifacts when I need them. And I've put in 3 icy manipulators as well. I like them. Nothing too flashy, but they provide some much needed board control as well. Defense against creatures, as they can tap them before they attack, and also can open up defenses by tapping the opponent's blocking creatures before we attack. I suppose they can always tap a City of Brass if needs be, just to annoy the opponent. I've also put in an extra rocket launcher. I'm not sure about that, but it's an extra win con, I suppose. And then we have a couple of Mace of Ith that synergizes with the Candelabra of Taurus, as said, as extra defensive measures. Also, I can't wait to use the Library of Alexandria a bunch of times each turn. It just sounds so broken. So all this, it could be good in theory on paper. I'm not sure how it will measure up when it meets real decks. But I'll try to tweak it as I go along and as I learn more. So this is the first match in South Africa, and we have 3 rounds here before sideboard, and it's against a deck I've dubbed the Bleeder deck. It's not an archetype that I know of, but it uses Underworld Dreams, Black Vises, land destruction, a bunch of small things that damages you, like copper tablets, Underworld Dreams, Black Vises, stuff like that, and burn spells, and then it just sort of kills you with that, with a bunch of small damages. So I win the roll-off, and so start up with an island. This is pretty exciting. The first game with the Candleflare deck here. He starts out with a Mox Jet and an Underground Sea into a Felvar Stone. That's nice. And at the end step we get Ancestral Recall going. So not a bad start by any means. And getting out a Sol Ring and a volcanic island. And okay, so he answers with an ancestral regal as well at my end step. I think he should probably have cast it earlier, because actually I could have power synced it there. Or maybe not. Yeah, I could. So, okay, he puts out a Mace of Ith, so he must be a bit mana screwed here. But he has so many artifact mana going, so I guess it's fine. So, we put out a Power Surge. Now remember, this is the one that damages for each land he has untapped, and a Candleflare of Taunos. So here's a part of the combination going. We can actually use our mana to untap his lands, and at the moment he takes 2 points of damage each upkeep. One from the Mace of Ith and one from the Underground Sea. He's gonna have some real difficulties with tapping that Mace of Ith. Okay, so let's see what he puts out here. Okay, that's an Abyss. Not much good for him in this matchup. I reckon he'll probably sideboard those out, but it's a very, very strong card in his deck, as he has no other creatures than Mishra's Factory. But neither do I. Okay, so he tapped his lands here, so I should probably keep a couple of mana ready to use the Candleflare to untap his lands. Think a bit about it and putting out a Mana Flare. Okay, here we go. And an Icy Manipulator. Okay, so and there's a Factory, and I use 2 mana from the Factory to untap his lands again. This must be so annoying. So yeah, he takes 3 damage each turn now. At least he's got those Moxen, and he probably shouldn't put down any more lands at this point, unless he needs the color. So he puts down another Abyss just to spend his mana, and the previous Abyss gets destroyed because it's an enchant world. Okay, so we have the Mana Flare and the Candleflare going, tapping those for 12 mana. I think, okay, I'm doing this, yeah, 12 mana. And I'm using 5 of them to untap the lands with the Candleflare of Taunos, and then we can tap them again. So that's a huge fireball in his face, just killing him outright. Yeah, so there we go. That's pretty sweet. First match in, and a big fireball. And we also got to play with the Power Surge a bit. So this looks rather promising. So this is the second round against the Bleeder deck, and the Bleeder deck is actually a tournament deck from South Africa, from my buddy. He I think he plays top 8 at the last year's Danish old school tournament with this one. So it's by no means an easy deck to beat. But I think it's not the worst matchup for me, because he doesn't have that many creatures in it, so he can't overrun me. I get time to get the combo going. So we strip mine his lands and put out another Philosopher's Stone, and he puts out a Mishra's Factory. Okay, so now we have 2 Candleflare of Taunos out. Gets a Factory. And puts out an Ankh of Mishra. So now we take 2 points of damage for each land we put out. That's another source of damage from his Bleeder deck. Draws into a black vise here. Okay. So he taps the City of Brass and sinkholes my volcanic island. He actually needs to tap the volcanic island, the Underground Sea as well, but we seem to have forgotten it at this point, as he attacks with the Factory for 2 points of damage. He couldn't do that. That's a mistake. As the sinkhole costs 2 black mana. Okay, so I activate the Mishra's Factory, and then I use a copy artifact to copy it. So now we have 2 Mishra's Factories and 2 Candleflare of Taunos. This could be fun. Okay. he drew a Chaos Orb. He's considering whether to put out in the Black Vise or the Chaos Orb at this point, but he puts out the Chaos Orb. I think that's the correct play. Those factories can do a bunch of damage to him. Okay, he takes another point of damage from his City of Brass. And then we attack with one factory. And he can't really block it because he doesn't have mana to activate his own factory. So he uses the Chaos Orb on an island. Okay, so I pump the factory, untap it with the island, and one of the Candleflare of Taunus. So now it's 2/2, 3/3, 4/4. Untapping it again with the other Candleflares and making it 5/5. Okay, and he gets the card. Actually, I think okay. So that's 5 points of damage right there. 5/5 factory coming in. And then we put down another island. And he reminds me here that he didn't want to kill the Candleflare of Taunus, he wanted to kill the island. Fair enough. Okay, that was reasonable to allow him to do that. So we just shift the cards out. That's another City of Brass here. I think he's at 9 life at this point. Okay, he puts out a Black Vise. We still have those factories going. So this is another area of the deck's combination plays, where those factories hit like a ton of bricks, like Jusumgens at this point. And if I get down another Candleflare, well, they'll just grow stronger. Okay, so he blocks it with his factory and then pumps himself, and I pump my own factory into a 4/4. And he lightning bolts my factory. And I can't really pump it enough in order to survive, as it takes 6 points of damage. So we're trading factories at this point, but he seems to be pretty, he's very pressured here. Okay, so he gets out a Mace of Ith and plays a Time Twister. And at this point, he seems to be forgetting to take damage from the Ankh of Mishra here. So he should be at about 5 life at this point. Yeah. He uses a Lotus and puts out an Underworld Dreams. So at this point I take damage from the Black Vise and the Underworld Dreams. That's 4 points of damage at my upkeep and draw step. We put down another factory, but I can't attack with it this turn. That's a shame. So we put out a Mace of Ith. So now we can actually start. Well, we can tap the City of Brass, as I do here. I actually don't know about the rules in new school, new old school. Back in the day I could have. Okay, so he lightning bolts me out here. That's too bad. I nearly got him. But yeah, there's a couple of things here. Back in the old days, one could use Icy Manipulator in order to tap a Black Vise before your upkeep, in order to avoid taking damage. And I'm not sure if I've heard that you can't do that anymore. And you can Icy Manipulator can only block Winter Ops and Howling Mines, but I'm not sure. So feel free to comment in the comment section if you know anything about this. Another point of contention is that I shouldn't have taken the 2 points of damage from the factory that he attacked me with, and that would put me at 2 life. And he should have taken 2 points of damage from that Ankh of Mishra, so that would put him in 5. And in my next attack, he would probably be dead if he had used both bolts on me, because I could attack with both factories and then he uses Mace of Ith on one of them, and I could just pump away and deliver 5 or 6 points of damage to him there. So, I don't know, perhaps I should have won this one if we had played more tightly. But, whatever. We got a bunch of games going, so let's go straight to the next one. And just for clarification, I should have taken points of damage from the factory because he should have used both mana on that sinkhole. Okay, so he mulligans down to 6 cards here, and I believe I did that in the previous game as well. Just forgot to mention it. So we start out with a Candelabra of Taunus here and a factory. And a second factory. That's a great start. And this time he uses both black mana and sinkholes one of them. Puts down a mountain and do another 2 points of damage here, so he's taken 4 points of damage at this point. Okay, he's considering something here. Drew into a dark ritual. This time he plays it, using 2 of the black manas to sinkhole the factory, and then the final black mana and an underground sea in order to cast Demonic Tutor. So that's an epic start for him. So we could go for an Ancestral Recall here. Let's find out. Okay. So I'm a bit mana screwed, so I just pass the turn back to him. He puts on a Maze of Ith, and actually he told me that he dived for that sinkhole, that was a gambit, but it paid off. It was a brilliant play. And then he puts out 2 black vises, and I'm completely mana starved at this point. At least I top deck a mountain, but I'm still at 7 cards here. And then he drew us straight into a strip mine. This is just brutal. I'm continuing being a bit lucky, drawing into a basic island, but he just lightning bolts me and then I die in my upkeep from the 2 black vises. So just an epic play. I think that tutoring was very nice. Sometimes people just go on autopilot and tutor for the Ancestral Recall, whatever they usually play with. And I know I can make a habit of that sometimes, but at this event, it was a really nice play. Going for a 3rd sinkhole instead sort of sealed the deal for him, because he could remove the last mana source from me, and he had those 2 black vises in hand. After this, we'll be getting a few more games in against the Bleeder deck, I think, and it will be after sideboard. I'm sideboarding in a Shatter and I believe a blue or red Elemental Blast. I can't really remember. And he had an opportunity to get those abysses out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.